As somebody who has been involved in many reform movements within the Christian sphere for a long time, the one thing that I've noticed is a good and proper understanding of the gospel, not the gospels, not the 4 books about Jesus that are found in the New Testament, but the gospel. What is the good news? If we're here, like the apostles of old, to proclaim the good news, what is it? I see a lot of people just talking in platitudes and gentle words, and there's a lot of gentleness in the leftist liberal Christianity. And that's fine. But I think we need to make sure that we have a good, firm backbone, that we have a gospel that we stand on and proclaim to the rooftops. As we go into the Dream of an Oak Church for this week, I'm here to tell you there is a gospel for us that doesn't involve shame, pain, suffering, or even hellfire, though we can invoke it if needs be. Let's talk about the gospel of the Oak Church today as we walk together down Creation's path. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie. I am a Christopagan and priest of Bridget.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm a Christopagan druid and sous chef to the Dagda.
Today, we are going to be talking about the gospel, the capital T, capital G gospel. What is the message that we proclaim? What is the heart of Christianity if we're not sinners in the hands of an angry God? Because I think many people throw that out and they lose sense of what the good word is. What is the good news? What was the good news originally, since that wasn't the original message? But before we get into all that, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be on whatever app you're listening to us on. We do 5 original Christopagan and Druid episodes Monday through Friday, and you don't want to miss a thing. We got a lot of fun stuff going on. Before we get into this, if you want to read the full article, you can head over to CreationsPaths.com and check out our Substack. But don't forget to subscribe so that you can get all of these posts as they come out, including the devotions like we did yesterday and these deep dives into Christopagan theology that we're doing right now. I want to focus really on the end of this post where we go into this idea of the kingdom, this idea that we are going to reinvigorate the idea of the kingdom by following in the footsteps of our foremothers and dropping the G so that we stay in right relationship with God. And I explain the history of that in the post. You can go check that out over at CreationsPaths.com if you want to see the history of the term kingdom. You would see it there. It's important for us to reclaim the heart of the gospel. The God that Jesus proclaimed was not just Father, but Abba. Well, it's cringe because of the way a lot of evangelicals use it in prayer. Abba means daddy. It is the familiar form of Father. Which is Father. It's Abba. It's Dad. It's the familiar, close to us. This is a God of love, as the Apostle John reminds us in the epistle, that if you do not know love, you do not know God. All of the commandments that Jesus gave are about love, that we are to love our neighbor as ourselves, that we're to love our God with all our heart, minds, and spirit, and that we're to love one another as he himself has loved us. All of the commandments of Christ are rooted in love. And that's a very powerful, immensely personal deity. It's one that was very novel to the first century in which Jesus teached, where God was becoming ever more esoteric, ever more beyond our comprehension. And yet Jesus doesn't make God knowable in the sense that you can define who and what God is, but God is personal in a way that we don't see in a lot of his contemporaries. And this, I think, more than anything else, is what drew people to the teachings of Jesus. Our Father, he tells us to pray, who art in heaven. We're not even making God completely tangible. Hallowed be your name, the name that cannot be spoken, name in words. Blessed are you. We are here, his mother called, for she gave birth to the Holy One. This one that came into the world to show us the way. The Gospel of John opens up with a beautiful passage. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. Through him all things were made, and without him nothing would have been made that was made. In him was light, and the light was the light of men. And he dwelled amongst us, and we did not recognize him. Or I could have gone to the other verse. and the light shines into the darkness, so the darkness could not overcome it. There's so many passages there in John that we could go to see this very personable deity. This God is light. This God is light. This God is the one that is ever close to us, calling us home. This isn't the God that told us to stone the sinners amongst us, but it's the God that tells us whoever is without sin should cast the first stone. This is not the God that tells us that we should fast. Why should we fast when the Lord is amongst us? This is not the God that tells us that we should live in grandeur and only take care of ourselves, but calls those who do that hypocrites, and tells us that we will be judged by how we treat the least amongst us. This is a God of love, of compassion, not one of anger, not one of hate, not one of misery and damnation. The gospel of Jesus Christ is so beautiful and so clear. It's the call to listen to that voice of love, to feel that light ever shining through us, through all of the cracks of our brokenness, through all that we are, to bring healing. It is the call that Jesus tells us to be perfect as God is perfect, to be compassionate as God is compassionate, to live in that perfection where we are embodiments of that love. That's a powerful message. This is not just the God that meets us where we are. It's the God that's already there. We're just not listening. We're just not looking. It's not some great chasm between us and the divine. The divine is here now, in us, with us, around us at all times. But we distract ourselves with fear, with guilt, with misery, with anger, with hatred, and we do not see. Seed is sown on hard soil, and it does not grow. Or it's sown on land with weeds that grow up and drown it out. This is the gospel that Jesus taught, that love is real, that love is divine, that compassion is the root that can save us. And I think that's a gospel worth preaching. That's one that gets missed, especially with all of the layers added on Augustine's original sin.
Yeah, I always found it difficult when someone's, okay, we're going to preach the gospel, so it's supposed to be about the good news. And then they start off with, you're a damned sinner. I'm like, that's not good news.
Not good news.
But dude, let me sit down for a minute. I feel like I need to sit down and be like, hey, here's some context. I get it. Your life must have been hard and really tough, but that's not good news.
Both Jesus and Paul taught very simply what the good news is. You are not fully alive because you've disconnected yourself from the source. You're like a vine that's been cut off from the branch. You need to be grafted back on. You need to reconnect to that source. You need to reconnect to that from which you grew so that you can live. What did Christ say? I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. And people like to cut that last word off, and like he's not talking about life itself. It's not that you should have life and have it more abundantly, as in with all the wealth and treasure and all the stuff the prosperity gospel wants to throw on there. No, that you should have life and have it more abundantly, that your life should be filled with friends and family and those who love you and care about you, filled with laughter and song and dance and joy. That's the gospel. That is the gospel that Jesus taught. That's the gospel that Jesus lived. And it's the one that we lost when we gave into this idea of we're just all evil and have to obey the good people that know what's best for us. I feel like we lost a lot. August brought his corruption in so early. It's almost been 2,000 years of it.
It started early, very early, and persisted throughout the ages.
Because I know I harp on the arguments between Augustine and Pelagius, but the arguments really were between Pelagius, who said that we have free will and that we can find grace in nature, we can find grace in scripture, and we can find grace in forgiveness. And it's through that grace that we're made whole. And Augustine, who said, no, you don't have free will, you're evil, and you can't help but do evil. And you don't seek grace, you seek forgiveness. Those were the two choices. And they chose column B. That has changed the entire course of Christianity after that.
It is very sad. It's something we talked about yesterday, that if we would just choose better, we can choose better. And it really is, in a way, that simple. All we have to do is choose differently. That's the whole thing about the kingdom being here with us already. It's now. It's not some future thing we have to wait for and suffer until we can get access. We just have to choose to live in it. We just have to choose to pick up our stuff and move in.
I don't know what their faith was, what their religion was, or if they even had one. But when I think about this life that we could have, I think about when we moved to California. We moved cross country from Frederick, Maryland to Oakland, California. We didn't know anyone there. We moved all the way cross country to a strange city and state in a place where we knew no one. And the moment we moved into our new apartment, there was a knock on the door. And our new neighbors were standing there with a smile on their face and a casserole in their hands. I know it can be really hard when you're moving to figure out how to eat right. So you can just pop this into the oven or just eat it cold. It'll be good either way. And that should help you get you through the night. Oh, by the way, we just got new furniture. Would you like our old furniture? We noticed that you didn't bring any furniture in. Would you like our old furniture? Because we were just going to have them carted away, but we can just move it in here for you when the new furniture arrives. That's living in Christian love. And like I said, I don't know what their faith was or if they even had one. We talked about a lot of things, but that just wasn't one of them. So I couldn't tell you if they were Christian by name or not. But that is the kind of divine love we're talking about. They were there for us. They took care of us like we were their own kids, even though they didn't know who we were. We were two strangers who just moved in the apartment next to them, and they wanted to make sure that we had everything we needed to get started. They helped us get connected to the antenna so we could have some television and be able to watch things all the way along the way. They helped us out. When they found out that we had a Netflix subscription back when you still got discs, he was a male driver, and his route actually, he was the one who dropped the discs off over at Netflix. And so he would knock on the door and say, do you have any discs that need to go back? And so we'd hand them over to him. He'd process them before he loaded them in the truck, and we'd get our new ones back really fast. They went straight to the source. He was a good guy. They were both good people. That kind of love for your neighbor, for the stranger, is the love that Jesus proclaims in the gospel. Every time I hear that, like, that's not realistic, but I've lived it. When we started going to the Church of the Good Shepherd in Oakland, we saw it there. We saw it exhibited in the people there who took care of one another. When our car broke down, they helped us out. They did what they could for us. I've seen it. It is such a reality that we could bring into this world on a grander and greater scale if only we chose to do it. Because we believe in this weird world of scarcity, that there's just a limited amount of everything. And to some of these people, I think they think that that means that God's blessing is limited as well. But we have enough resources to take care of all of us. We have enough fuel to take care of our power needs. We have enough food to feed everybody. We have enough houses to house everybody if we just let people live in them. We have enough. Are we afraid of going into lack, or are we just greedy and wanting more? And I wrestle with that because I think it may be different for different people, but those are the two things that seem to be warring against us. All the people that are worried about the migrants and the refugees. You know what's happened every time we've welcomed in migrants and refugees? Life got better for them and for us. But we always have to go through this cycle of hatred and recrimination and oppression first. And if we could just skip that step and get to the point where we're all doing okay, because we're going to get to that point eventually, because we've been through this cycle with the Irish, with the Scottish, with the Italians, with the Polish immigrants, with the waves of Vietnamese immigrants after the war. We've been through this so many times, and I find it weird that we forget and we choose not to. That's why it's important for us, those of us who feel this call in our lives, to remember that gospel, that the divine nature is love, that we can learn not only to love, but how to be one, and that can be the root of everything that we do. Now, I know some people think that love is all like hippy dippy and squishy. You ever see a mama bear take care of her child? Love can be fierce. Love is not weakness. Love is actually a better source of strength than fear or control. When you love something, you will do anything for it. If we felt that way about the earth and all the resources we're squandering, if we felt that way about our neighbors and all the relationships that are going to waste, if we felt that way about the food supply and all the food that goes to waste because it's just not profitable to some company to sell it, we'd all be doing better. That's the gospel. The gospel is that there is a unifying spirit that holds us all together. And that when we act in that unity and in the cause of that unity, we can make the world an infinitely better place. And when we allow any stoppages, blockages, breakages in that unity, we are harming ourselves and we're harming everyone. That's it. That's the gospel. And I think that that's something that we could scream from the highest mountain. So I think that's something that we could have door-to-door people proclaiming, though I do think we're living in a world where it's a little bit dangerous to be going door-to-door. But that is the message that we could and should be proclaiming from the mountaintops as we're building this new Oak Church. The heart of our message. We're not proclaiming a God out there, judging and distant, but a God here. The kingdom of heaven is within us, Jesus says, with us. Both God's in the kingdom and the kingdom's within us. Oh, wait. Oh, I don't know how simple the message needs to be. And I feel like that was the problem with the earliest Christian movement. The message was that simple.
Yeah.
People wanted it to be more complicated. And maybe what we need to do is figure out what the egg is. If you don't get what I'm referencing there, when the early cake mixes went onto the market, nobody bought them. It felt like cheating. Nobody used them until they added the instruction, just add egg, just add an egg. And now it felt like cooking. So you participated in it. And it's that little bit of buy-in. You had to crack an egg and stir it in that made you feel like you were participating in it. And maybe that's the problem, is when people were trying to figure out what that egg is, they added this entire apparatus of control to make them feel like they had more to do than they really did. That the simple free will and grace that we were offered by Jesus was just too simple for them to accept. There is a God that loves us, that is love. Rabbi David A. Cooper reminds us that God is a verb. Rabbi Rami Shapiro reminds us that God is a verb. God is an action, something that we do, that we participate in, that God is a process, ever moving and flowing. And that when we try to make a noun out of God, all we're doing is making an idol. In fact, the very names for God that we use, Yah and Ahia, are verbs. They're forms of the verb to be. And so God is being, just existing, is participating in God. Granted, to a lot of arguments with some atheist friends of mine who think that I'm too smart to still believe in God. And I just looked at them and said, I exist. And they get confused. They think that I'm trying to make some argument for a distant creator or something. I'm like, no, God is the root of all being. If there is being, there is God. That's how I see God. If there is love, there's God. If there's justice, there is God. That these participatable actions are divine. I'm not arguing for a distant Papa in the sky that wants to give you a hug. I'm saying that the universe itself is embracing you right now where you are, where I am. How does life come from chaos? Because order is intrinsic in nature. Just like cooperation is intrinsic to evolution, cooperation is what makes us who and what we are. It's not just competition. Competition leads to extinction. You can't have a forest without participation. You can't have you without participation. Every time you think that you are an individual, realize that there are billions of microscopic flora and fauna that make you capable of being you. They digest your food for you. They help keep your immune system strong. They fight off many pathogens before they even get to your immune system. You are a community. I am a community. None of us are truly alone. When we learn to see past that sense of false isolation, that's when we start to see the truth of the gospel. Faith is a kind of love that reminds us to take care of one another. And if everyone took care of one another, everyone would be cared for. And that's the gospel. And I'm really curious what y'all think. Kind of talked a lot in this episode. I feel like, Brian, do you have anything you want to say?
Other than, as you say in the article, that it starts with self. You've got to learn how to love yourself. You got to learn how to forgive yourself. And then you can love and forgive others. And it's a lot easier to say than to do, but that's where it starts.
Almost everything is easier to say than to do. I can tell you how to play guitar, but I can't play a guitar for a life. I can tune one, though. I would love to know your thoughts about those. This is, I don't know, a special episode for me. This has been years and years in putting this together and coming to this place where I feel at home. That is what the Oak Church is for me, at least. It's that place where I feel that home that I always wish I had in the church of my youth. And then I found occasionally little churches like the Church of the Good Shepherd in Oakland. And I want everyone to find that sense of home. And that home is right there in the heart of God. Let me know what you think right there in the comments. If you're listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, or CreationsPaths.com, you can leave a comment right there. If you're listening to us anywhere else, even if they say you can leave a comment, they don't notify us, so we won't know. But you can leave a comment there anyway, because engagement is magic. And then head over to CreationsPaths.com, click on chat, and you can leave a message there, and we will see it, and we will be able to get back to you. While you're there, if you happen to have a few dollars, you can pass our way. We offer monthly and annual memberships. You can also support us on Patreon and Ko-fi. I am CE Dorset on both, and you can support us using the Cash App hashtag CreationsPaths. Thank you to everybody who does that. We are ever so grateful. Thank you so much. You all really do help us keep the lights on, keep a roof over our head, and food on our table. If we've ever said anything that's helped you out, please share it with others. That helps us out more than you know. And as we're heading out today, I don't know, maybe I'm feeling nostalgic for the evangelicalism of my youth, but oh Lord Jesus Christ, who lives in us, who reminds us that you are the vine and we are the branches. Open our hearts, our minds, and our spirits, that we might see the love of God flowing through us, that we might live in that divine light, ever seeking hope, justice, and peace in all that we do, so that we may build the kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven. Amen.
Amen.